Chapter 1, The Barn That Breathed. If you've ever inherited something from family, you expect a stack of old photographs, a box of mothball-smelling sweaters, maybe a mortgage with more teeth than a shark. What you don't expect is a barn that snores. Jack Harper parked his pickup outside the weather-beaten farmhouse and leaned on the steering wheel, staring at the sagging roof like it had personally insulted him. "Thanks, Grandpa," he muttered. "Could have left me a condo in Miami. No, it had to be this." The air smelled like hay, rust, and Midwest nostalgia. The mailbox leaned like it had given up on life 50 years ago. The barn sat at the edge of the property, big doors shut tight, its wood panels warped and groaning against the autumn wind. And underneath it, deep, steady, unnatural, came a sound that didn't belong in polite rural America. Thrum, a low rumble. Like a furnace. Or like something big exhaling in its sleep. Jack rubbed his temple. Perfect. My inheritance wheezes. He killed the engine and climbed out, boots crunching gravel. The farmhouse looked harmless enough, chipped paint, creaky porch, a swing that had seen happier days. Inside, dust motes danced in the sunlight, furniture stood draped in sheets, and the air carried the faint scent of tobacco and motor oil. Grandpa had been many things: mechanic, stubborn patriot, the kind of man who could fix anything with duct tape, but Dragon Keeper wasn't on the list. Jack tossed his duffel on the couch, whistled at the silence, and made his way to the barn. He paused at the door. The noise came again, louder this time. Asterisk rumble. Hiss, asterisk. He touched the wood. Warm. Too warm. "Yeah, this is fine," he muttered. "Barns do that. Totally normal." The doors groaned as he shoved them open. Inside, the smell hit him first, charcoal and ozone, like a campfire that had decided to eat the atmosphere. Tools lined the walls, hay bales stacked in uneven towers, and in the center, a trapdoor made of reinforced steel. Grandpa's handiwork. Jack crouched, running his fingers over the bolts. Someone had carved strange patterns into the metal, sharp, geometric glyphs that shimmered faintly. He didn't recognize the language, but it wasn't English, and it sure as hell wasn't the kind of thing you picked up at Home Depot. He leaned closer. The rumble came again, shaking the floorboards. Then, just for a heartbeat, he swore he heard something mutter beneath the trapdoor. A guttural word, ancient and heavy. Jack blinked. "Nope." He stood, dusted off his jeans. "Absolutely not. I didn't move all the way out here for—" The floor shifted. A puff of smoke curled up through a crack in the steel. The boards above creaked. "Whatever that is." He grabbed a shovel off the wall. It wasn't much, but it was steel, and steel felt better in his hand than bare optimism. The trapdoor jolted, chains rattling below. Then silence. A long, deep breath. Jack exhaled, shovel raised like he was about to fight a raccoon on steroids. "All right. Show yourself." Nothing. The barn settled back into quiet. He lowered the shovel. Then the voice came again, low, muffled, words pressed against the barrier. Not English, not even close, but filled with intent. The sound vibrated in his bones. Jack swallowed. "Grandpa, you lunatic, what the hell did you lock under here?" The next morning didn't make things better. The locals were polite in that Midwestern way that meant they'd rather talk about anything except the truth. At the diner in town, Jack ordered black coffee and pie, because that's what you did if you didn't want to look suspicious. The waitress, a woman with sharp eyes and a name tag that read Marlene, poured his cup with the precision of someone who knew everything about everyone. "You Harper's boy?" she asked. "Grandson," Jack said. "Jack?" She studied him. "Farm's still standing?" "Mostly. Roof's tired. Barnes, lively. Marlene froze mid-pour. Lively? He gave her his best clueless smile. You know. Creaks at night. Her lips pressed thin. She leaned closer. Best stay out of that barn after sundown. Why? She looked like she wanted to say more, then shook her head. Some places don't like being disturbed. Coffee's on the house. You'll need it. Jack watched her walk away, eyebrows raised. People only gave free coffee for 2 reasons, pity or fear. Back at the farm, he sat on the porch, nursing the cup. The barn loomed at the edge of the field, quiet now, but the memory of that voice scratched at the back of his mind. He was trained to notice patterns. Trained to see angles. Before all this, Jack had worn a uniform and sat in rooms where plans were drawn in lines and casualties were numbers. He'd learned how to smile while calculating how to break a problem apart piece by piece. And right now, the barn was a problem begging to be solved. Night fell. The noise returned. This time, louder. Jack grabbed a flashlight and a shovel again. He wasn't reckless, just stubborn. He crept into the barn, light slicing through the dust. The trapdoor pulsed faintly, glyphs glowing like coals. The voice rose from below, clearer now. Still foreign, but with rhythm, like it was repeating a plea. Jack crouched. Hey, neighbor. You got a name? Silence. Then, a rumbling growl. Heat radiated upward, fogging his flashlight beam. The glyphs flared bright red. The trapdoor strained. For a second, Jack thought it might burst open. Instead, a single plume of smoke hissed through the crack, wrapping around his boots before dissipating. He stood, heart hammering. The dragon, because let's stop pretending it wasn't one, wasn't just alive. It was awake. The knock at the front door came just before dawn. Jack opened it to find 3 figures standing on his porch. Not neighbors. Not human. The tallest wore armor that shimmered like liquid steel, eyes cold and calculating. Beside him, a smaller one shook with nervous energy, clutching a device that beeped faintly. The third was older, robed, with eyes that had seen too much. Jack blinked. Morning. You lost? The armored one stepped forward. His voice was sharp, translated through a device on his chest. Asterisk, we are here for the beast. Step aside, human. Asterisk. Jack smiled politely, leaning on the doorframe. Beast? You mean the barn raccoon? Mean little guy, but I've got him under control. The nervous alien flinched as a low rumble echoed from the barn. Smoke curled into the morning sky. The elder spoke softly, words heavy with warning. Asterisk, you don't understand what you guard. Asterisk. Jack's smile didn't falter. Try me. The armored one's eyes narrowed. Asterisk, that creature destroyed worlds. Release it, or be erased with it. Asterisk. Jack sipped his coffee, unbothered. Well, that's not very neighborly. The rumble shook the ground. Chains rattled. The dragons stirred again, and the aliens froze, their confidence wavering. Jack's smile widened just a fraction. Guess we've got ourselves a situation. Hashtag Chapter 2, Lemonade Diplomacy. The 3 aliens didn't move. The armored one stood like a statue, hand resting on the hilt of a blade that hummed faintly with energy. The nervous one kept adjusting his device, muttering in his own tongue. The elder watched Jack with unsettling calm, eyes glowing faintly in the dim dawn light. Jack took another sip of coffee. Long drive? You look parched. I can whip up lemonade. The armored alien snarled. Asterisk, we did not come for refreshments. Asterisk. Well, you're on a farm now. Hospitality's mandatory. Jack gestured toward the porch chairs. Sit. If the world's ending, we might as well be comfortable. The nervous one looked at the elder as if asking permission. The elder gave the faintest nod. They sat, rigid and out of place in creaky wicker furniture. The armored one stayed standing, radiating contempt. Jack leaned forward, elbows on knees. So, let's skip the foreplay. You want the dragon under my barn? The elder's voice was measured. Asterisk, it is not a dragon. It is a weapon older than your kind, forged in fire and bound in chains. It has devoured fleets. You should not speak to it. Asterisk. Jack tilted his head. Funny. It already tried chatting with me. Sounded cranky, like my ex after 2 margaritas. The nervous alien's fingers froze mid-tap. He glanced at the elder, alarm flashing across his face. The armored one's lip curled. Asterisk, impossible. The beast communicates only with its kind. Asterisk. Jack shrugged. Guess it's broadening its social circle. Silence settled. Only the distant rumble from the barn filled the air. The elder broke it. Asterisk, human, what is your name? Asterisk. Jack Harper. And you are? Asterisk, names would mean little to you. Asterisk. Suit yourself. I'll just call you Gandalf, Shaky, and Angry Pants. He nodded at each in turn. The nervous alien's cheeks darkened, though whether from embarrassment or alien biology Jack couldn't tell. The armored one stepped closer. Asterisk, enough mockery. The beast belongs to us. Step aside, or be crushed under its shadow when it breaks free. Asterisk. Jack set his cup down with deliberate care. See, here's my problem. That barn, and whatever's underneath, is on my property. You don't just stroll onto a man's land and make demands. That's how you get shot in Kansas. The armored alien's hand tightened on the blade. The elder raised a hand, stopping him. Asterisk, patience. This one is unusual. Asterisk. Jack smiled, thin and sharp. Unusual's just another word for American. The negotiations, if you could call them that, lasted an hour. Jack played dumb, pretending not to understand the stakes, while fishing for information. The aliens argued quietly among themselves, thinking he couldn't hear. He heard enough. The creature wasn't just dangerous, it was political dynamite. Whoever controlled it could dominate entire sectors. Rival species had been hunting it for centuries. The fact it was sleeping beneath a forgotten farmhouse made no sense, and that unsettled them more than Jack's attitude. Jack leaned back, chair creaking. So basically, you're saying my grandpa left me a lizard-shaped nuke. And you guys want it? The elder's gaze was steady. Asterisk, it cannot remain here. Release it to us, and you may live. Asterisk. Jack tapped the armrest, considering. Tempting offer. Here's a counter, no. The armored one erupted, blade half-drawn. You dare. Jack stood, calm but with steel in his eyes. Put that away before you hurt yourself. Or worse, before I hurt you. The words were soft, polite, but carried the weight of something far sharper. The armored alien froze. The elder studied him carefully. Asterisk, you speak like a soldier. Asterisk. Jack's smile returned, casual and disarming. I speak like a man who doesn't like being threatened on his porch. That night, they tried force. Jack knew at the moment the barn lights flickered. He was already moving, boots silent on the grass. 3 more aliens had joined the first group, circling the barn with equipment that pulsed blue. Jack muttered under his breath, neighbors sure work fast. He moved into the shadows, shovel replaced with something better, his grandfather's old shotgun. He didn't intend to use it, not on aliens with armor that could probably eat buckshot for breakfast, but the look of a weapon still had power. He waited until they'd set up their gear, until the nervous one bent over the trapdoor with shaking hands. Then Jack spoke. "Evening. Need help with that lock? I've got WD-40. They spun, weapons raised. Jack held the shotgun loosely, barrel pointed at the ground, posture relaxed. "Easy now. You fire that toy, you'll wake the whole county. Sheriff shows up, and explaining why ET is breaking into my barn might get awkward." The elder raised a hand again. "Human, you do not comprehend." "Oh, I comprehend just fine." Jack stepped closer, voice steady. "You think I'll roll over because you've got glowing swords and fancy tech. But here's the thing, on Earth, we've dealt with worse. Ever wrestled a gator in a Walmart parking lot?" "Didn't think so." The nervous one whispered something in his tongue. The elder's expression shifted from patience to calculation. The armored one bristled, but didn't move. Jack closed the distance, his grin widening. "Tell you what. I'll make lemonade. We'll sit down, and you'll explain why you think dragging this fire-breathing nightmare out of the ground won't kill us all. Otherwise," he tapped the shotgun. "This gets messy." The elder hesitated, then lowered his hand. The others reluctantly followed. Back on the porch, Jack poured lemonade into mismatched glasses. The aliens stared at the yellow liquid like it was poison. "Relax," Jack said, sliding one across. "It's sugar water with ambition." The nervous one sniffed, then sipped. His eyes widened. "Sweet, strange." Jack winked. "Welcome to Earth." For the first time, tension cracked. Not gone, never gone, but shifted. The elder leaned forward. "Why protected, human? It is not yours." Jack took a slow drink, eyes on the barn where smoke still drifted. "Because it's here. And if something that dangerous ends up on my land, it's my responsibility. That's how we do things." The elder regarded him in silence, as if weighing centuries of assumptions against the stubborn man before him. Finally, he said, "You're either very brave, or very foolish." Jack smiled, calm and dangerous. "Why not both?" That night, as the aliens retreated to their ship to consider, Jack sat alone on the porch. The barn glowed faintly, heat shimmering above it. The dragon stirred again, a deep growl rolling across the fields. Jack whispered into the dark. "Easy, girl. I've got you." Then, almost to himself, "And I've got them exactly where I want them." Chapter 3, Baited Hooks. Dawn broke with a sky streaked in bruised purple. Jack leaned against the porch railing, sipping lukewarm coffee, watching the barn like a man waiting for his trap to spring. The dragon had been restless through the night, the chains rattled, the wood groaned, smoke puffed through cracks. And right on cue, the aliens came back. Not 3 this time, 8. Their ship hovered just beyond the tree line, a black silhouette against the horizon. The armored commander marched at the front, flanked by 2 warriors with blades humming at their hips. Behind them came the nervous tech with his device, another pair carrying crates, and the elder moving at a deliberate pace. Jack muttered, "Whole neighborhood showed up." He didn't go inside. He didn't reach for the shotgun. Instead, he grabbed a bucket of paint he'd been using to fix the porch steps. He dipped a brush, started painting with that didn't need it, and whistled off-key. The commander stopped at the fence, voice sharp. "Human, you had your chance. Step aside." Jack didn't look up. "Morning to you too. Y'all camp out in the woods, or is that spaceship an Airbnb?" The commander's hand twitched toward his blade. The elder spoke first. Asterisk, we are not here to barter. We will remove the creature. Asterisk. Jack set the brush down, finally meeting their eyes. His smile was casual, but his words weren't. You could try. But between you and me, waking her up wrong won't end with you flying home. It'll end with ashes. Your ashes. The nervous tech muttered in his tongue, glancing at the barn where smoke curled lazily into the sky. The elder's gaze sharpened. Asterisk, you speak as though you command it. Asterisk. Jack shrugged. Let's just say we have an understanding. She growls, I listen. The aliens spread out, unpacking their crates. Strange equipment unfolded, tripods with glowing lenses, a device that hummed like a hive of hornets. Jack watched, leaning casually on the fence. Looks fancy. Alien lawn care? The commander ignored him. His team began calibrating the devices toward the barn. Jack's tone dropped, softer, almost polite. Last warning. Don't aim that junk at my property. One warrior snarled, raising his blade. The elder silenced him with a glance. Asterisk, human, do you know what your people are tangled in? Asterisk. Jack chuckled. Do you? The first blast hit the barn like thunder. The devices pulsed, beams converging on the steel trapdoor. Glyphs flared crimson. Chains screamed. Inside, the dragon roared. The sound shook dust from the rafters, rattled the windows of the farmhouse, and drove birds screaming from the trees. Smoke billowed, black and hot, spilling into the morning air. The aliens staggered back, shouting in panic. The nervous tech fumbled his device. The warriors drew blades, eyes wide. Jack didn't move. He leaned on the fence post, voice steady. Told you. Wrong alarm clock. The barn door exploded outward, with splinters flying. A talon the size of a shovel punched through, followed by another. Fire spilled from the cracks, searing the ground. The commander barked orders, but his warriors hesitated. Their armor might have been advanced, but nothing looked advanced when a dragon decided to breathe on it. The elder turned toward Jack. Asterisk, control it, if you truly can. Asterisk. Jack smiled, calm in the chaos. Control's a strong word. Influence? That's closer. He stepped forward, close enough to feel the heat rolling off the barn. He spoke in a low tone, steady and commanding. Easy. Not yet. Not them. Wait. The dragon roared again, but the sound shifted, less fury, more frustration. Smoke hissed through the ruins of the barn door. The claws withdrew. The creature held, waiting. The aliens stared at him in disbelief. The nervous tech whispered, "It listens." Jack turned, grin sharp. What can I say? Some folks are good with dogs. I'm more of a dragon guy. The standoff cracked wide open. The commander raised his blade, pointing it at Jack. Asterisk, you are dangerous. More dangerous than the beast itself. Asterisk. Jack's voice was soft, but every syllable hit like a hammer. Now you're catching on. He nodded toward the horizon. Figures moved among the trees, others. Not human. Different ships. Different banners. Rival alien factions had come sniffing around, drawn by the dragon's awakening roar. Jack spread his hands. And here's where it gets fun. You're not the only ones who tracked her down. Seems you've all walked into the same trap. The elder's eyes widened. Asterisk trap? Asterisk. Jack stepped closer, smile polite, tone lethal. You think Earth didn't notice centuries ago when someone buried a god under a farmhouse? My grandpa didn't chain her up for kicks. We left her here. Waiting. For you? The commander froze, blade trembling slightly. Jack's words sliced through the morning air. You came thinking you'd claim a weapon. What you found is bait. And now the sharks are circling. The rival ships landed in the cornfield, kicking up dirt and snapping stalks. Dozens of aliens spilled out, armed and shouting, eyes fixed on the barn. Some looked terrified, others greedy, some already arguing among themselves. The elder whispered, half to himself, "Asterisk, you knew they would come." Asterisk. Jack's grin was wolfish. Of course. Why do you think I've been so neighborly? Let them all gather in one place. Makes the cleanup easier. The dragon growled again, shaking the ground. The barn roof collapsed inward. Fire lit the air, casting shadows across the field. Aliens on both sides raised weapons. A dozen different dialects cursed, shouted, threatened. The morning turned into a powder keg. Jack reached for his coffee cup, still balanced on the fence post. He took a sip, unfazed by the chaos. "Well," he said, voice almost cheerful, "looks like the party's starting." The commander snapped, "Asterisk human, this will consume your world." Asterisk. Jack's smile thinned. "That's the beauty of it. You all think you're the hunters. But out here, on this patch of dirt, you're the prey. And me?" He set the cup down, eyes cold. "I'm the guy who sets the hook." The dragon roared again, shaking the earth, fire bursting skyward. Aliens shouted, weapons crackled, blades hissed. And Jack Harper, calm, polite, dangerous, watched with the satisfaction of a man whose trap had finally sprung shut. Chapter 4, Teeth Behind the Smile. The cornfield burned first. Plasma bolts cut through rows of stalks, igniting them into walls of fire. Alien warriors clashed in the smoke, blades sparking, rifles screaming. Their shouts in half a dozen languages blended into chaos. Jack stood at the fence, hands loose at his sides, watching as though it were a game he'd already won. He turned his head slightly toward the barn. "All right, girl," he murmured. "Time to earn your keep." The trapdoor split open. Chains snapped like brittle wire. The ground shook as the dragon pushed through the wreckage, wings unfurling in a storm of smoke and fire. Scales glistened, black-edged with molten gold. Her eyes blazed like twin furnaces. Every alien froze. For a heartbeat, battle stopped. Then panic erupted. The rival factions screamed orders. Some fired blindly at the beast, their shots bouncing off scales like sparks on steel. Others turned on their competitors, desperate to seize the creature for themselves. Jack didn't flinch. He stepped closer, firelight painting his face in flickering gold. "Easy," he called to the dragon, voice low but firm. "Not me. Them." The dragon's head swung, exhaling a blast that turned a squad of warriors into silhouettes of ash. The field lit up in white-hot fury. The elder staggered forward, horrified. "Asterisk, you cannot control her." Asterisk. Jack's smile was sharp, humor edged with menace. "Control? No. Partnership." He whistled, short and sharp. The dragon pivoted, fire sweeping a rival ship, turning it into a collapsing heap of molten metal. Aliens broke. Some dropped weapons, scrambling for the woods. Others fought harder, pride outweighing survival. The armored commander barked orders, blade glowing as he cut down any who turned to flee. Jack stepped toward him through the smoke. "You still think you're in charge here?" The commander snarled, blade raised. "Asterisk, you've doomed your species, human." Asterisk. Jack's expression cooled. "Species like yours doom themselves the moment they underestimate us." The commander lunged. Jack sidestepped, catching his wrist, twisting with surgical precision. The blade clattered into the dirt. In the same motion, Jack shoved him face first against the scorched earth, boot pressing down between his shoulders. Jack leaned close, voice polite as a dinner host. We smile, we shake hands, we play dumb. That's our camouflage. But when the mask comes off, he pressed harder, making the commander gasp. You see what we really are? The dragon roared again, drowning out the man's sputtering. Across the field, the rival factions collapsed under the onslaught. Firestorms consumed squads. Ships tried to lift off, only to be dragged back down in flames. The ground stank of scorched ozone and panic. The elder, still standing, watched Jack with a mix of awe and despair. You laid this snare, centuries ago? Jack released the commander, letting him scramble away. He turned toward the elder, wiping soot from his hands. Not me. I'm just the guy holding the torch. My people set the trap. We knew curiosity would bring you all here eventually. The elder's eyes narrowed. Why? What do you gain? Jack's grin carried no humor now. Intel. Leverage. Proof. You come sniffing after the dragon, we measure your weapons, your tactics, your fear. Every species that touches this soil shows us its cards. The elder whispered, horrified. You are predators. Jack's voice dropped, calm and lethal. Bingo! The dragon swept low, wings churning ash. One of the last ships fired wildly, bolts streaking across the farmhouse roof. Jack winced. That's family property, you idiots. He lifted his hand. Take it down. The dragon obeyed, slamming the vessel with a claw, rending it open like a tin can. The explosion painted the morning sky orange. Silence followed. What was left of the factions either lay smoldering in the field or had fled into the woods, abandoning weapons and pride alike. Jack exhaled, rolling his shoulders. He looked at the dragon, who lowered her head to meet his gaze. For a moment, predator met predator, bound not by chains but by something sharper, mutual recognition. He patted her scaled snout once. Good girl. The elder limped closer, robes singed, face grim. You realize the galaxy will not forgive this. They will come in force. Jack's smile returned, light on the surface but dark underneath. That's the plan. The elder stared, realization dawning. You want them to come. Of course, Jack said softly. The bigger the bite, the clearer the picture. And when they finally see us for what we are, he gestured at the burning field, the dragon's smoldering eyes, the silence where armies once stood. They'll realize it's too late. The elder bowed his head. Humanity, you hide your teeth until the kill. Jack raised his coffee cup, miraculously unbroken on the fence. We call it good manners. By noon, the fires had burned down to smoldering embers. The farm looked like a war zone. The dragon curled beside the barn's ruins, chest rising and falling in slow rhythm, smoke drifting from her nostrils. Jack sat on the porch, boots propped on the railing, sipping coffee gone cold. His phone buzzed in his pocket. No number, just a message. Phase 2 ready. The galaxy is watching, ****. He smirked, sliding the phone away. Guess the show's just getting started. The elder stood a few paces away, silent, watching him with wary respect. Jack raised his cup in a mock toast. Welcome to Earth. Try the lemonade before you leave. The dragon stirred, growled softly, then settled again. Smoke curled into the clear blue sky. Jack Harper leaned back in his chair, eyes on the horizon, waiting for the next wave of fools who thought humanity was harmless. because the trap had only just begun.